The fall sports are wrapping up and basketball season is upon us, so there's a lot going on in Firebird athletics. Today on Firebird Nation Sports Update, we'll visit with the head coaches of the UDC men's and women's basketball programs, and we'll recap the fall seasons in soccer, cross country, and tennis. We'll also hear about some of the community activities that the Firebirds are engaged in this year. We've got a lot to cover, so stay with us on Firebird Nation Sports Update. Hello, this is Firebird Nation Sports Update, your inside look at the University of the District of Columbia athletics. I'm your host, Matt Rienzo. UDC athletics is on the rise, so come fly with the Firebirds. The Firebird men's soccer team is currently 7-5, heading into the final stretch of the 2013 season. The Firebirds have been led offensively by senior Bakary Koulibaly with 7 goals and 1 assist. Freshman Felix Angerer also has 6 goals and 3 assists, and freshman Nenad Smiljanic has 4 goals and 1 assist. Sophomore goalkeeper Lewis Connor has allowed just 15 goals in 12 games, while stopping 47 shots. UDC has 4 East Coast Conference games remaining, all of which are pivotal in the league standings if the Firebirds hope to make the 4-team ECC Championship tournament. Switching over to women's tennis, with just 2 regular season matches remaining, the Firebirds have clinched a spot in their 3rd straight ECC Championship tournament with a league record of 5-2. UDC is 6-2 overall and earned the number 3 seed in the upcoming conference tournament. Sophomore Parida Lorisuwan, who advanced to the ITA East Regional Finals in singles play, is a team best 11-3 on the season, while junior Maxime Daoust is a team best 6-1 in league play. Senior Jessica Nunez is 8-3 at the number 1 singles slot. The women's cross-country team is aiming to finish higher in the standings than last year's 8th place showing when it competes at the East Coast Conference Championships in Brookville, New York. The Firebirds have prepared by running 2 very challenging courses in their most recent 2 meets, the Towson 5K Invitational and the George Mason 6K Invitational. The team is led by freshman Kay Tierra Johnson and sophomore Simone Grant. Now in alumni news, the University of the District of Columbia Athletic Department hosted the first ever Firebird Open Golf Tournament at the National Golf Club at Tantallon on Monday, October 14th. 76 golfers participated in the inaugural 18-hole scramble event. Despite soggy conditions from several days of rain, the sun came out for the Firebird Open, and the tournament was a huge success. The Firebirds continue to make an impact in the community, with the women's basketball team participating in 2 community service events already this fall: the Just Us Girls Overnight Adventure in Hyattsville, Maryland, and the Stead Park Sports Day in Northwest Washington. Head lacrosse coaches Scott Urich and Melinda Brown, as well as several members of the University of the District of Columbia men's and women's lacrosse programs, hosted a group from the Washington Inter-City Lacrosse Foundation, or WINNERS, for an instructional clinic in early October. The clinic was attended by more than 20 boys and girls, and it featured drills stressing fundamentals, stick handling, passing, catching, and shooting. Now, with the leaves starting to turn outside, it can only mean one thing. That's right, basketball season. The Firebirds men's and women's basketball teams both tip off their 2013-14 seasons at home during the week of November 9th and 10th. The women, led by 10th year head coach Jay Butler, will open the season at home versus Nyack on Saturday, November 9th, while the men will begin the Mike Riley era on Sunday, November 10th, hosting reigning NCAA East Region champion Franklin Pierce. We'll visit with both head coaches in a minute to hear all about the upcoming year. We're going to take a short break, but when we return, we'll visit with our first guest, UDC men's basketball coach Mike Riley, so stay right there. We're now joined by UDC head men's basketball coach Mike Riley. Coach Riley, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Coach, this is your first year coaching at the University of the District of Columbia. You've been here as an administrator for almost 4 years. How's it been getting back into coaching now that you've got some practices on your belt, a few weeks of the season underway?
Well, it's fun, Matt. But you have to, every day, you're like going uphill because there's so many things you have to teach. Since I am the new coach here, even the few players that's returning, everything's new. We have about 6 walk-ons that's new, so every day you're climbing this mountain uphill. But yesterday was better than October 15th, and I'm hoping tomorrow will be better than today. So.
But you're enjoying the switch. You're enjoying being at practice and coaching.
I am. That part I really enjoy. Making sure guys go to class and doing what they're supposed to be doing and dealing with some of the things that they have to deal with. That's another part of it. But I still enjoy the whole thing.
And how have the practices been going? You've been at it for a few weeks now. How have the practices
been going? Well. You have to figure out how much you should give them in a day or each practice, how much you should review. It's just like being in the classroom. You give out the information and then you test them on it a little bit. You may throw a quiz, and we may do it in the locker room, or we may actually do it on the floor. But it's interesting. Some of them pick up quicker than others, and some of them don't pick up as quickly. So you have to go back and review it again. So.
And are you working them hard? Are you working them to the bone? Or are you easing them into it? Or what's your preseason philosophy?
Well, it's easing them into it because you don't want them to peak and be in shape too early because what happens each day, you have to stop and go through this process of teaching. So if you just run them and run them and run them, then you're going through this teaching process, whereas you don't want them to get out of shape. So we have to do a balance, a little bit of both. But we're getting there. We're not in shape yet, that's for sure.
It's a progression.
It's a progression.
So you'll get there.
Yes, it is.
The first scrimmage is tomorrow. What can we expect to see from the Firebirds?
Well, what I really want to see is organization. I've already talked to them about it. I don't want it to seem like through these couple of weeks we haven't done anything. I want to see progression. I want to be able to look at the film and say, okay, it's like a child doing his homework, his math homework. You have them to do the homework. And then when you come in to check it, you don't want to look at it and say, "Whoa, what is this?" You want to see that there's something here.
The same mistakes they made yesterday.
Right. You want to see there's some progression here, that we didn't make those same mistakes, that we progressed on, and maybe there were some other things that we can figure out. But by watching the film, hopefully there's enough there to see that we can figure it out and say, okay, we should be doing this as opposed to be doing something else.
Now, switching over a little bit to recruiting and roster, you were hired sort of late in the summer. You didn't have a lot of time to recruit, if any. How's your roster taking shape, and was it hard to find qualified student athletes at the last minute?
We have some very good walk-ons at people. We're trying to develop them into basketball players. Some of them has played team, some of them have not played team, along with the few guys that we had coming back. So we have 6 walk-ons right now, and the best thing is that we all get along. We'll figure out, I'll know a little bit more tomorrow whether or not we play a little bit better. But I think that, we have to recruit some more players.
And it's important to note, I mean, you really were hired at the end of the summer. There was no time to recruit at all.
Well, so. we had some time to go out, but the kids that were available, I just didn't want to take anybody. I really want to get some good kids. And as I said, I think early on, I want to build a program, and that takes time sometimes.
It sure does. And now that you've had a couple of weeks of belt on your practice, you've had a chance to evaluate your own talent. I know tomorrow will help in the first couple games. But who are the key players going to be on this team?
Well, the people that were here last year, obviously, they're coming back. I think we have Quasin Jones, Darik. I'm sorry, not Darik. Darik is here, but he's not playing. We have Michael Terry, and then Omar Bess. And I think that those are going to be the hub guys that will help us to, fill a lot of holes. And then we have some kids that's coming, walk-ons that's coming in and starting to play and catch on and do some things.
Certainly the returners of Quasim Jones and Mike Terry and Z Ashmawi, those guys will be kind of the core of the team, you would think.
They will. And they've given great leadership so far. And that's important with the organization part because they're the ones that, come on, guys, let's get this going. And then locker room talk. If you have good leadership in the locker room, I'm not in the locker room all the time, so they're getting the guys hustle up to come to practice and then getting the guys ready. I saw somebody had got chalk and gone through some of the plays on the blackboard, and I didn't ask him to do that, but that's leadership. It's great leadership to do things like that.
That's great. Now talk about, I know you have a lot of walk-ons, do the recruiting timetable, but talk about some of your key newcomers. Lenjo Kilo, I think, is an important piece for you.
Right. Lenjo came to us. He's a transfer, and I think that he didn't play as much as he wanted to where he was, but he's going to play quite a bit here. He's a great kid, has good size, good athletics.
Will he play center or power forward?
He'll play both.
Yeah.
He'll play both. We'll have people playing multiple positions, as you will see. Relative to size or relative to quickness or whatever, they'll play a lot of minutes. And we have another kid, Prince Ritson, that came in, and left-handed kid, about 6'3" or so. He's come in and done a pretty good job of blending in with the guys. And then we have Dean Moore. He's another transfer. Actually, he came from junior college, and Garrett Junior College. And he fits in very, very well with what we're trying to do. So I think that with those guys in nucleus, we took some guys that were here already in school, going to school here, going to the community college here, and some going into the flagship. And we brought them on, and to make, I think we have 11 guys right now. Great.
And how are all these players, the new players and the returners, how are they responding to the new philosophy and the new systems?
I think well. You always have concern about that. You always have concern where guys not picking things up. But again, I think the leadership helped. The leadership of guys that were in, they bought into maybe some of the things that we were doing. And I tried to simplify things by not making things too complicated in relation to some of the things they did last year with some of the returning people, and then with some of the things that I wanted to implement with some of the new people. And I said it's worked out so far. I haven't had any real bad headaches trying to do it, but it's a tough job to really try to blend everything, especially in your first year, because there's so many things that you're trying to do to make it whole, and you want to hurry up and do it when you know you have to. You have to be slow. We have the scrimmage coming up on Saturday the 26th, and I think we have another exhibition game coming up on the 2nd. So we have some time to still get some things in, and so I have to sometimes just pull back a little bit and say, well, that's enough for today, and then we have to maybe put in days where we actually are going over some of the same things we went over, so the guys will learn it better.
Gotcha. And kind of sticking with that theme, for those who don't know, you were at Georgetown for many years. Your teams were great defensive teams, a lot of full court press, a lot of transition.
Right.
Is that something we can expect to see for the Firebirds this year, or maybe a couple years down the road? Or?
I'd like to do that, Matt. You have to have the right personnel to do that, right mindset. The person that I played for and worked for, John Thompson, he didn't build that in probably a season. It took time to build that because it's a mindset.
And you got to have the right kind of athletes.
You have the right kind of athletes, but it's the mindset of wanting to play defense. I mean, it's like, going home and having a meal ready for you and having to cook a meal. You start thinking, well, I'll just stop and get something because you don't want to really do the work. I think that that's the same thing with defense, and everyone wants to play offense. If you say, well, I need some people to play offense, and a lot of people's hand goes up, but you say, I need some people to play defense. They say, well, if I have to, I will. And so it's a mindset of playing defense, but we have to do a good job of playing defense, and we have to do a good job of rebounding in order for us to be a good team. We won't be a good team if we don't do those two things.
Gotcha. And you open up the season on November 10th against Franklin Pierce. They won the East Region last year. It's a tough opener. What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, they have a very good team, and I did not make this schedule. I'm still looking for that person that did the schedule. But we're gonna put out a product, and hopefully we'll be happy with what we do. But we have a very, very tough schedule, not only with the league but out of the league. We have a very tough schedule. We're gonna have to live with that.
Yeah. Now, you've only been at it for a few weeks and it's early, but what are your goals as you see this team and the tough schedule ahead? What are your goals for the season?
Well, each day we go into practice. I have goals of us wanting to get better, obviously want to get better. but we want to make sure everything from an organizational standpoint, we're going from 1 to 2 to 3. We're doing, because what happens in basketball, it's not like football. Football, well, there is an interception where the offensive team has to turn to defense. But for the most part, you put the offensive team in there, and the defensive team is over here talking. And then you punt. They have special teams that do that, and then the defense comes in and plays while the offense is talking. But in basketball, you can't do that. You have to go from offense to defense very, very quickly, and you have to rebound and then go through transition from defense to rebounding to playing defense to transition on offense. And then if you don't have the primary break, you have to go into the secondary break, and then you have to go into whatever, one game or whatever you're going to run. So to transition from those things, that's what I'm looking for, how orderly that's done, whether or not we have to stop or people looking around at one another and say, well, what are we doing now? And they should know. And that's what we've been working on to get them to go from that point right in the flow. Or if they shoot, we have to try to rebound. If we don't, what do we do then? We have to go back and get into defense, and we have to build our defense from inside out.
So keeping your goals very focused rather than broad, overreaching goals.
Right. The small goals, one day at a time. There's small goals, and there's small goals for individual. And I sometimes talk to players individually to try to get them to understand what not only the goals of the team, but their particular goals. Because people have different roles, and that role will be important during the course of the year.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you in your first year here as the head coach at UDC. I think your team's going to do great down the road, and it'll be great to watch this first year. So thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate the opportunity.
We're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll visit with head women's basketball coach Jay Butler. So stay right there. I'd now like to welcome Firebird head women's basketball coach Jay Butler onto the show. Coach, thanks for being with us again.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Well, here we are, another year in front of us.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to tell how the upcoming season is going to shake out, but what are your thoughts on the year from what you've seen thus far?
So far, I'm excited. The young ladies, they're working hard in the preseason. We had a young group last year, so this year we kind of focus in on bringing in some older players. So we got a lot of junior college transfers. And right now, they're working hard. We're a little banged up from the preseason, but we're starting to get all our players back and starting to get that chemistry down.
Now, you've been here for 13 years. This is your 10th season as head coach. You've been through a lot of preseasons. How is this one kind of compared to others?
We have Morgan, our strength and condition coach. She's really been working extremely hard with the young ladies on their explosiveness, and that's new for me. Normally, Coach Butler do preseason, but Morgan has took over the preseason, and she's done a great job.
Are the players getting stronger, and you can see in their play?
Definitely getting stronger, more explosive.
That's
more
great.
Explosive. So right now, I'm excited. We got a big schedule ahead of us. Got some good competition. The ECC is always competitive. So I just think right now we're in the right place, trying to get that chemistry down to have a big season.
Now, your practices in the preseason, describe what they're like. Are they grueling? Are you working them real hard? Are you doing two-a-days or any of that stuff? Just describe what that's like.
No two-a-days. The first couple of days of practice, we did a lot of conditioning. To get our legs going. And then slow down a bit because there's a lot of teaching. I run a lot of plays offensively and defensively. So we had to slow it down. And, we have our first scrimmage on October 27th. So we actually got to prepare and put our offense and our defense in pretty quick to get ready. The NCAA don't give you a lot of time to prepare. Our first game is November the 9th. So it's kind of tough trying to get all your offenses and your defenses in place for that first game.
Gotcha. And you mentioned you have some junior college transfers. You've got 6 new student athletes, 7 returners. You're going to have a balance of older players, younger players, newcomers, returners. Kind of how do you see that working out in terms of the production and the playing time, specifically with regards to returners and newcomers? You think it's going to be kind of balanced?
It's definitely going to be balanced. We got a young lady, Danica Brent, that's returning from last year. We got some newcomers, Talisha Turner, Shakina Williams out of Washington, D.C., that are talented players that's going to come in and going to play right away. And right now in the preseason, we did a lot of team building, to develop that chemistry. And once we get the chemistry down, the talent is there. So if we can get the chemistry down and get the kids to playing together, I think we're going to have a great year this year.
You mentioned Danica Brent. I want to talk about her for a second. I'm really looking for her to have a breakout year. She's had very solid years the last couple of years. She was the all-rookie team as a freshman. Last year as a sophomore, she had a very productive year. I'm really looking for her to take her game to that kind of elite level. Is that something you expect, and how does she get to that, or am I putting too much pressure on her?
I don't think it's too much pressure. I talk to Danica all the time. You know, she's a special kind of player. We've had her since her freshman year. She's probably one of the best ball players in the ECC. And I just think with the talent that we have added, took a lot of pressure off her, and I still think her point production is going to increase this year. She should be in the top 10 in rebounding, block shots, steals, and scoring. And I think she has an opportunity to be possibly preseason player of the year, or at the end of the year, definitely be an all ECC performer.
Well, that's great, and I know she averaged over 10 points a game last year, so We'll look for that maybe to incrementally increase a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about personnel. You have a newcomer, Talisha Turner, who I know is playing some point guard for you. Is she going to kind of take that role to start the season, or are you working that out?
Talisha definitely is going to come in and play the one right away. Her leadership, her scoring ability, she's a special kind of talent. I just think she's going to have a great 2 years here at UDC. And she has the potential to be All-American. She's a competitor. She has a big heart. She wants to win. She's a do-it-all type player.
Those are some two pretty good players you just mentioned there between Talisha and Danica.
I think they're going to form a 1-2 punch that's going to be pretty good in the ECC.
That's great. So then if Talisha is playing point guard, what does that do to Tiara Shaw? What role is she going to have?
Tiara Shaw, she's our senior. She's our captain. She's going to be our leader. You know, right now she's looking to possibly move off the ball or possibly come off the bench and be that sub that's give us that stability coming off the bench.
So possibly play two or backup point guard.
Back up the point guard position.
Now you mentioned your scrimmage is coming up. You've got your first game in a week against Nyack at home. How are they, and what are you looking to get out of that first game?
Nyack, they were a young team last year. They struggled, but this year we looked on their website. They got a couple of Division I transfers, and I just expect that they got good coach. So I expect it to be a tough first game for us.
And you mentioned your first scrimmage is on the 27th. What do you try and get out of a preseason scrimmage? What are you looking to do?
Preseason, I tell the young ladies every day, we're putting in a lot of offense. We're giving them a lot of information. I tell them, just let's get down 50%. 50% and let's build on it with our offense and our defense. That way, by the time we hit around January, we can get around 75%. And once we go into February, March, we right around 100%, where we running our offense like you know it like the back of your hand.
And when you say those percentages, you're talking about production?
Production and then just execution. If we can get down 50% execution early in the preseason and try to build on that, we'll be that much better once we get around conference play.
And when you go into this scrimmage, do you try and play some certain people more than you normally would and kind of make it more even playing time, or do you kind of play your starters as much as possible to really see what's your philosophy on that? Or do you play extra quarters maybe so you can see everybody?
Yeah, we actually play 3 20s. So
perfect.
So we play 2 20s, and then the third 20 is normally running time. And we try to play a couple of different lineups, try to see some of the younger players, how they react under the whistle, and then try to basically try to get chemistry down and to see where we at, stuff that we need to go back into practice and work on.
Now, we talked about Talisha Turner. You have a couple other newcomers, Shakina and Melina. Talk about them, and then also just your ability to kind of increase your defense, your transition, your scoring with some of those new players.
Shakina Williams, she's out of Coolidge High School right here in Washington, D.C. She's a great shooter, has a very good IQ for the game. So her ability to come in and make passes, knock down shots, she will help us right away. The young lady, Melina Bubajevic, out of Serbia. She's transferred from Longwood. She's very high-skilled, has a very good IQ for the game, can shoot the basketball, can run the floor like a point guard. So that's going to allow us to get up-tempo, and defensively we always want to press. And this year with the new rule coming in with the 10-second violation backcourt, that's going to allow us to increase our pressure in the backcourt to try to force a lot of turnovers.
So explain that to the viewers. The men's game has had the 10-second call in the backcourt for years, and the women just added it this year.
Yeah, this year they just added a 10-second violation.
Why was that? Why did they add it this year?
They're trying to increase the scoring and just to speed up the game. And that helps us out. We like to press and we like to get up and down. So now you got a lot of teams that will take their time in the backcourt when you don't have that 10-second violation. Now we had to speed them up a little bit. So we should get a lot of more steals and a lot of more violations against the teams.
And that's one of the things I love about your teams is you do press, you focus on defense and the transition game. So hopefully that's going to even fall into your hands even better this year.
Yeah, that should add a lot more pressure to the team.
Now, you talked at the very beginning of the interview about team chemistry. How is the chemistry going? And I'll talk about the community service in a minute, but I'm sure that lends a little bit to the team chemistry. But how is the team chemistry going leading into the season?
It's going great. The young ladies, it was tough for us last year, and because over the years we've been winning 20-plus games, making an appearance in the NCAA, and the young ladies was a little disappointed last year with the 10 wins, but we were very young, inexperienced. We weren't able to close games. So this year we brought in some older players, and we did a lot of team building. We go out and we sit out on the campus. We take pictures out there. We kind of talk and just trying to build that chemistry so we can all pull together and get ready for that ECC championship this year.
That's great, and that's really important towards playing well, is making sure that you're a cohesive unit. Talk quickly about the community service. I know your team's already done a couple bits of community service. Talk about those and what you did.
With the community service, I'm born and raised in Washington, D.C., so I just feel like any time that I can get back and get into the community and give back and lend a helping hand. This year we've done 2 community service projects at local recreation centers where we go in and do clinics, teach the young ladies or teach the kids how to pass, dribble, shoot free throws, and then just let them have fun. Sometimes we just sit out, we just talk to them, and just let them know, the opportunities that they have as an individual, that they can play sports and possibly get a scholarship, or just be a part of a team. You can pick up a new friend. So I just think right now, just being able to get back out there and show that UDC athletics are definitely out in the community.
That's great, and who knows, maybe 10 years down the road, you pick up a couple of those youngsters that you're
exactly
doing the
that always
with.
helps.
Yeah. So now, real quick, we got a couple seconds left. Talk about the ECC. Who's kind of looking tough in the ECC? What does that look like this year?
The ECC gonna be tough. Last year you had Dowling that made it all the way to the national championship game. LIU Post and New York Tech made it to the NCAA. So those 3 teams gonna definitely be tough. You have a Robert Wesleyan team that returned a lot of good young talent, and you got a team in Queens that's going to be my surprise this year, I think.
So pretty much everyone's really good in the
Exactly.
conference.
You got great coaching, you got great basketball played in the ECC.
And it's heavy in New York too. There's great basketball in New York.
Great basketball in New York. You got talent there, but I just think this year we have the ingredients to be on the top half of the ECC and compete for the championship.
Well, it sounds like you got all the pieces you need, some new players, some returners who are very good and going to make a really strong case for the Firebirds this year. So we wish you the best of luck this season. Thanks a lot for joining us again on Firebird Nation Sports Update.
Thanks, Matt.
That's all the time we have today. I'd like to thank our guests, Firebirds head basketball coaches Mike Riley and Jay Butler. Please don't forget to follow Firebird Athletics on the web at udcfirebirds.com, on Twitter at UDC Firebird Fans, and on Facebook at UDC Athletics. Thanks for watching the Firebird Nation Sports Update. I'm your host, Matt Rienzo. The Firebird is rising in the nation's capital, and we're glad you're along for the ride.